Hello and welcome back to the Pajarito Environmental Education Center, better known as PEAK. My name is Ashley Lusher and I am the Gift Shop and Program Coordinator. And today for Critter Chronicles, we're going to be taking a look at our canyon tree frogs. Let me go ahead and turn this camera. All right, so this is our canyon tree frog exhibit. We currently have two canyon tree frogs with us here in the Nature Center. Their names are Tad and Gilly, and I'll give you a moment to try to look and see if you can find the frogs on your own. So if you're having trouble finding them, don't worry, you're not alone. These guys actually specialize in camouflage, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But we have one right here. This is Tad, and up higher up on this shelf is Gilly. So these are our two canyon tree frogs. They've been with us for quite some time now. And they're really, really fun. They're really sweet. We're actually going to see if Tad or Gilly wants to come and get a little bit closer in just a moment. So Tad and Gilly are both adult frogs. And as adults, they'll grow from 1 to 2 inches long, sometimes to 2.5 inches. So they're not very large frogs, but they are very, very common in areas similar to the Pajarito Plateau. Here in Los Alamos, you can find them in the canyons, especially White Rock Canyon. But they are very common anywhere that we have a permanent body of water. So I want to get a look at their skin. So I'm going to go ahead and see if either of them want to come a little bit closer. Before handling these frogs, I make sure to rinse my hand off in some dechlorinated water, just to make sure everybody is safe. Let me see. Come on. Oh, Gilly seems like she might come see. She actually thinks my hand is food, but that's all right. So here we have Gilly. Would get her closer, but I'm afraid she'll try to jump onto the laptop. So they have this beautiful, beautiful coloration on their back. You can see she's got this kind of light gray color. There you go. And their underside is actually got these gorgeous yellow legs. You really only see when they're jumping, and their bellies are quite cream colored. But these frogs have special abilities in their skin to actually change their color to their surroundings. So if they were to jump onto this light stone rock behind my hand, she could potentially change her colors to something much lighter. And if she was to go back up onto her shelf, she would change her colors to something much darker. And they do this with hormones in their skin. Scientists aren't 100% sure how it works, but it is something seen in a lot of amphibians. She also has these beautiful discs on the tips of her fingers. I don't know if I can get a good look for you guys. Maybe if she sits still for a moment, Gilly. But she's got these nice round discs on her fingers, and those discs allow her to stick to rocky walls or other areas. And so you can see she's climbing almost completely vertically up my hand with no problem at all. And that is because of that adhesive skin on the undersides of her toes. These guys can climb complete vertical containers, vertical walls. So as amphibians, or as frogs, these guys are a type of amphibian. And amphibians are really, really cool. They're one of the most ancient types of animals. They are still very much linked to the water, and their life cycle actually depends a large amount on a water source. So when these frogs lay eggs, they lay almost jelly or boba-like eggs into bodies of water. And when those eggs hatch, they hatch as tadpoles. I'm sure almost all of us have heard about the frog life cycle. But those tadpoles will hatch in the water, and they look very, very similar to fish. They don't have arms or legs, but they do have a long tail, and they breathe underwater, and they swim around, and they exist really just like fish. And at that point in their life cycle, they are very, very vulnerable to predators, and as eggs as well. They can be eaten by tiger salamander larvae, by fish, by other frogs, birds, anything that is bigger is happy to eat them at that life stage. Once they are old enough, after about 70 days or 2 months as life as a tadpole, they will go through metamorphosis, which is a really big word that just means big change, and they will lose their tail and grow these strong legs and 4 arms, and they will be able to move onto land to hunt. As tadpoles, they will they will eat algae and other plants. They'll be herbivores. But once they grow up and go through their metamorphosis and move on to land, they will become carnivores. And as carnivores, they will eat any kind of invertebrates they can come across, flies, beetles, ants, small moths, really anything that they can catch. Here at the Nature Center, we feed them crickets, and I was going to feed them crickets, but I thought it'd be cooler to get a closer look at them moving around. You may have been able to see just a second ago, Gilly here decided to urinate on my hand, and that's actually a really common self-defense mechanism in frogs. She doesn't know that I'm not trying to hurt her, so I'm not going to take too much offense to that. But another defense mechanism that these frogs have is they can secrete chemicals through their skin that make them kind of bitter tasting and can actually be harmful to certain animals, certain predators. To us, it really doesn't hurt us, but it can be irritating for the eyes or nose. So whenever you get to handle a canyon tree frog, make sure you wash your hands before you touch your face. Although right now in today's world, we shouldn't be touching our faces too much anyways. So you can see that she is fairly calm right now. She's not too upset. She's hanging out, moving around a little bit. And these guys don't spend all of their time in the water. Some species of frog are fully aquatic, but these canyon tree frogs are not. They actually live in very arid climates. She looks like she's about to try to jump. That'll be fun to get to witness. But they live in very desert-like areas. And despite the name canyon tree frog, they really don't stay on trees very often. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm going to just shift you around. I'm trying to make sure my hands stay nice and moist to keep her healthy. But they live in very dry, arid areas, and adults can often be seen perched on rocks and boulders above a body of water. And you can see that's why she likes to hang out in their little shelf so much. Here in the Nature Center, we have a small bowl of water for them to bask in when they'd like. But for the most part, they stay up on their shelves. These frogs are nocturnal, so they're most active at night. But you can often see them out during the day, perched on boulders and rocks near water sources. So if you're down in the White Rock Canyon, you can see them on rocks around the Rio Grande. Or in any of the canyons here in Los Alamos, if you find a stream or a body of water, you'll most likely find some of these frogs sitting on rocks nearby. During really dry or hot times, these guys will find crevices in the rocks that they live on, and they will most likely pack into those crevices with possibly up to 100 other frogs. So you can find these cracks in the rocks with up to 100 frogs all huddled together to get out of the sun's hot rays. So remember, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the live chat, and I'm happy to answer any questions about these frogs or any other critters that we've gotten to look at through the Critter Chronicles, or anything else that you come across as you are going about your day. So when these guys lay eggs, they lay their eggs in the water, and a female will lay up to 100 eggs. When they lay their eggs, it's normally in the spring or summer months when the snow has all melted. And you can often in that time hear the males calling out to the females. It's a very, very loud call. I will not try to replicate that for you, but I highly encourage you to go look up canyon tree frog calls. It's a beautiful sound. And if you're in the White Rock area, you may be able to hear it at night. But these guys will lay their eggs in those months, and they'll lay up to 100 eggs. And of those 100 eggs, they are really just hoping that 2% hatch. hatch and grow into adult frogs. That's because their eggs and tadpoles are preyed upon so much by predators. These guys really kind of use the strategy of lay a bunch of eggs and hope that some of them make it. And it works out well for them because we have quite a few of these guys. They're not particularly endangered. She is just having a grand old time. But you might be able to see between her and Tad. I'll hold them up together for comparison. Tad is much, much larger. And we believe that is because Tad is a little bit more interested in hunting for food. We'll often just release crickets into their tank and allow them to, woo, there she goes. So that's actually giving you a great look at her underside. You can see she's got that creamy, creamy belly and those legs that are just yellow colored. Come on, sweetheart. I don't need you crawling out of your tank. Last thing we need is frogs loose in the nature center. But you can see from that jump, she's very, very strong, very, very great jumpers. They can get around really well. And this is a clear glass tank, and she was able to cling to the sides of that with no problem at all. It really shows you these guys' ability to stick to surfaces. What was I saying before we had that beautiful, beautiful jump by Gilly, the canyon tree frog? They use a strategy of laying a lot of eggs in hopes that they have just some of them make it to adulthood. Oh, I know. The sizing difference. So we release crickets into their terrarium loose so that they can go around and hunt them. It's really good for them to have that activity. However, we started noticing that Tad, the canyon tree frog still back here, is getting much, much larger than little Gilly here. And so we started to make sure that we were feeding them at least a little bit by hand to ensure that Gilly was also getting something to eat. We're not quite sure why Gilly is a less active hunter than her counterpart Tad, but she definitely doesn't let it stop her, as we can see. She's not unhappy in any regards. She's going to try to jump again. Here we are. Thank you, Gilly. These frogs are super common, so if you find them when you're out and about hiking, count yourself lucky. Their camouflage makes it hard to actually see them, even when they're out and about. So you can go and sit down on a rock right next to the water's edge and not notice that you're sitting right next to one of these beautiful frogs. She's turning now like she wants to hop out of her tank. I'm sorry, Gilly. Oh, she's going to try to walk up my arm. Well, you can do that if you want. But so these frogs, because of that amazing capability to camouflage themselves, will actually stay put if a predator gets close and won't move until the predator is right on top of them in hopes that they just will not be seen. These guys are preyed on by snakes, raccoons, other reptiles, birds. And so that ability to camouflage into their surroundings is really, really helpful. She is sitting so nicely for us right now. Thank you, Gilly. Remember, if you have any questions at all, oh, there she goes again. So she's not great at sticking to this perfectly smooth glass surface, but you can imagine the slight roughness of the rocky canyon walls allows them to cling on very well. Thank you for demonstrating that, Gilly. He's a very happy friend to be showing us all these cool things about canyon tree frogs. But if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put them into the chat. We also keep an eye on the chat after these videos get uploaded to YouTube. So if you want to go check them out later on, you are welcome to, and put any questions you have into the chat. We'll keep an eye on those and respond as we can. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please subscribe. That allows us to do more cool YouTube videos like this with Gilly. If there's anything else you'd like to see, please comment and let us know. Otherwise, have a great day. I'm going to go ahead and put Gilly back into her. Whoop, Gilly. Come here, sweetheart. There we go. I'll put her back on her shelf. And it's important. I took her from this shelf, and I'm going to let her go back onto it if she wants. There she goes. Whenever you are seeing these animals in the wild, the nicest thing to do is make sure to put them back the way you found them once you are done getting to observe them. And since I was handling her, I'm going to go wash my hands before touching my face to make sure I'm safe from any kind of chemical secretions she may let out on her skin. But that's all I have to talk about today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to see more videos like this. Thank you so much and have a great day.